And the opportunity we have in this region in particular. I'm here today to see if I can get all of you to get engaged in the next chapter of Colombian competitiveness, which is the competitiveness of this region. So what I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about why regions are important for competitiveness. What are the drivers that actually allow regions to become more prosperous? What have we learned about that from around the world? How do we think strategically about a region? I firmly believe that this region is very well positioned to have a unique role, which will only get greater given the free trade agreement. The question is, how can we seize that opportunity? Just like in my state, in Massachusetts, we have a unique role in America. We have a unique economy, we have a unique position, which has allowed us to achieve a very high and rising standard of living. Not by being like other regions of America, but by developing our own distinctive strengths and our own distinctive capabilities. So this is a discussion that has to happen today in Atlantico, in this region, and this discussion is one that already is beginning. But I'm also here today to say that we in the private sector have to get more engaged. We have to take responsibility for this effort, both collectively, but also in our individual businesses and in our individual companies. And so, in addition to talking about regional competitiveness today, I'd like to talk about the role of business in competitiveness. You know, I have been leading a project at Harvard Business School for the last year. We are deeply concerned about America right now. Because America and our ability to renew ourselves as a highly competitive nation is right now faltering. Our economy is in a slow period. But we don't think it's just a recession. We think that actually we've been slow to make improvements and make choices that are necessary to really drive our economy forward. And I've led a large team of our faculty who have been studying U.S. competitiveness for the last year. And what we found was both encouraging and concerning. We found that the core strength of America is probably stronger than ever. The entrepreneurship, the technology, the creativity, the dynamism. But what we've come to understand is that we in America fell into the trap of letting government take too much of the lead. And one of the most important findings from our work, and what we're now doing all across our country, is we're starting to understand that business is the only institution that can ultimately drive this process, because business is there forever. Business doesn't have to get elected every 4 years. Business has potentially a longer horizon about the region, about the city, about the business that we're in. And so what I'd like to talk to you about is what do you need to be doing as businesses to contribute to this process by which this becomes a prosperous region in a prosperous country. That's our topic for today. Now, in thinking about competitiveness, and I'm going to get this to work. Thinking about competitiveness, the first question we have to ask ourselves is, what do we mean by competitiveness? And this is a question of great importance, because as I work around the world, I find that there's a lot of different ideas about what we mean by competitiveness. Some people actually think that to be competitive, you need to have low wages. Does that sound right? Well, if you have low wages, that means you're poor. That's not the goal. The goal is to be competitive enough so you can support high wages. You know, some people think that you're competitive if the value of your currency goes down. But if the value of your currency goes down, you know what happens? Your standard of living goes down. Because you have to pay more for all the goods and services that you buy from abroad. And when you sell a product from Colombia, you're selling it for less if your currency goes down. You're giving a discount. You're discounting Colombia if your currency goes down. And that just reduces the standard of living. So that competitiveness is not low wages. Competitiveness is not a cheap currency. Competitiveness comes from the capacity to be productive. When you're productive, you can achieve the two things that you have to achieve in a competitive nation or a competitive department. You can create a situation where companies can compete, but citizens can get an improving standard of living. To be truly competitive, you have to do both at the same time. You can't have companies succeeding while citizens do poorly. That's not competitiveness. You also can't have citizens doing well, but companies not able to compete. That doesn't work either. Competitiveness comes from having companies able to succeed and citizens do better. That's the secret core of competitiveness. That's the secret sauce. In order to do that, we have to create a productive economy. An economy where you can produce a lot of value, you can produce goods efficiently, and therefore you could support higher and higher wages, as well as the ability of companies to do well in international markets. That is the fundamental core idea of competitiveness. How do you create a productive environment, so productive, so innovative, with so much skill, so much technology, that you can support both company success and the success of citizens? Now, in order to do that, we've come to understand that it doesn't really matter what particular fields you compete in. You can be productive in agriculture. You can be productive in using natural resources to produce goods. You can be productive in any field. So competitiveness is not about selecting any particular industries. Competitiveness is about building the productivity of whatever industries you have or can build. For example, in this region, we have the opportunity, you have the opportunity to be world-class in logistics. Now, you can be inefficient in logistics if you don't improve the capacity of the port, and if you don't improve the technology, and if companies don't develop the skills and sophistication. You can be inefficient, but you have the opportunity to be really world-class in logistics. But that's going to happen if you can build that logistics cluster here into a highly productive cluster. Competitiveness and prosperity depend not so much on what you do, but how you do it. If you can be highly productive, if you can have a lot of skill, if you can use the best technology, you can innovate and provide excellent services, that will allow you to improve the standard of living. And that's what this region must learn to do. We have to, in those areas where we can build capacity and where we have an existing base, we have to become highly productive. We have to figure out everything we can do to make this an irresistibly productive environment for business, so that it becomes a magnet for attracting and retaining business. So it becomes a place where businesses, both small and large, can kind of grow and develop and hire people and pay good wages. That's the fundamental concept of competitiveness. And the question is then, how do we do that? What are the critical dimensions of competitiveness? Now, what we've come to understand about competitiveness is, unfortunately, it's not simple. There's no one thing that makes you competitive. Unfortunately, it takes dozens of things to make you competitive. Even hundreds of things to make you competitive. This picture tries to capture the essence of the drivers of competitiveness. This is based on sort of the synthesis of what we've learned about this topic, not only in my group, but also among other scholars over the last 25 years. We know that the foundation of competitiveness in any region or any country is endowments. You have certain endowments. You have a location in the world. Here we are located on the Caribbean. You have natural endowments, growing conditions for agricultural products, perhaps minerals or other natural resources. You have a certain pool of people that have developed here. So that's an endowment. These are things that you didn't create.